What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the Nail Bomb RP chest fix for X-Transbots Ratliff, their version of Ratchet. And we'll be doing a comparison with the Fantastic Model or FansToys dock, their version of Ratchet as well. So this was sent to me by Ricky G. He actually originally sent it because he said people would want to see a comparison with the more recent FansToys version. And it just so happens that I got this 3D printed chest fix from Nail Bomb RP. He sent me a bunch of other upgrades too. I've been showing them little by little. This is the last one. And this actually sits on top of the chest. Now, you can get this through Sculpt 3D. I'll put the link in the description. So if you have a 3D printer or you have access to somebody who has a 3D printer, they can print this out. Obviously a translucent plastic and then a white plastic. He does sell it outside of the US, but unfortunately due to the tariffs and just due to the shipping situation, he can't ship to the US. But you can either download it from Sculpt 3D or get somebody to print the files for you. So he did send these inserts. There's little paper inserts that go here. So you can have kind of a different look behind it. Or you have this one here, which looks like almost like a window actually. I think this one looks better, so I'll just put this one on here. But obviously it's a piece of paper, so you can print whatever you think looks good. And that just sits right in here. It is a relatively thin piece, this blue part especially, so you do want to be careful. But this ridge will fit right in this gap here. So you're going to come up here and first get it pushed down on both sides all the way. And then this little notch will go over the bottom and just kind of grab on the bottom of the chest. And there you go. It covers up a few issues. One is all of the gaps in the chest. There's breakup in the chest. And two, it covers up the little holes that you had on the front of the chest, which are for transformation. So definitely looks better. Now for the comparison I'm about to do, I'm not going to include this. This is obviously not part of the original figure, so it doesn't make sense to include it. But I do think this makes it look better for sure. And it's pretty clean. Like, you can't tell that there's a part on there. What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're doing a comparison of the X-Transbots Ratliff with the Fantastic Model or FansToys dock, both versions of a Masterpiece Scale Ratchet. So I did do a comparison of the Fantastic Model with the Takara version, as well as I did the comparison with the Takara for this one when it came out. But I never did these two, and I actually was not planning on doing it. But my buddy Ricky, who often sends me these X-Transbots figures, said, hey, people really probably want to see this, so could you do it? And I said, sure, if you send it, I'll do it. So thanks to Ricky for sending this out. I think you guys should also be thanking Ricky, because without him, I probably wouldn't be looking at a lot of these X-Transbots figures. Like I mentioned in my previous review for the Omnibot, Mateys, their version of Camshaft, that was kind of my last purchase. I've decided I'm going to spend my money on figures that I tend to trust more, and X-Transbots is not it. But for me, but for other people, it might be different, right? You might prefer these X-Transbots figures, the look of them, the design of them. So for that reason, I'll continue reviewing as long as they're being sent to me from Ricky. I'll continue looking at them and doing these comparisons if I have them. With that being said, I try to be as objective as possible with these comparisons, but of course there's subjectivity involved when you're comparing things like this. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I do these comparisons to help people decide what direction they want to go with their collection, including getting both of them if that's the way you want to go. With that being said, let's get started. We'll start with the plethora of accessories. All right, here are the just absolute insane number of accessories for these two guys. I struggled to even get a fit on this table. And it's pretty obvious right away, X-Transbots has way more, but I do want to go through it just so you can see what it comes with. Both come with some blast effects. The X-Transbots, they're meant for different weapons, whereas the FansToys are meant for the jetpack. They can be used with a couple of weapons, but we'll count these off together. They both come with, I call it the air filter gun, you know, the kind of rounded gun. These guns kind of differ, but I'm just going to count them off as number-wise. So you get this gun, you get a chrome gun with the X-Transbots. Another one, this is like the welding torch type tool. Count those off. And then we get another little welding or fixing tool for X-Transbots. And we get this drill type gun for FansToys. We have this nozzle piece for the X-Transbots. Plugs into the hand. If you take off the hand. And we get one more gun for FansToys. They each come with three wrenches. Two of the regular wrenches. All painted. And then we get two of the special tool from that one episode. They both come with a Marvel style comic head. Now the X-Transbots comes with both blue and gray faces. I don't know if you can mix match all of them. Whereas the FansToys, this face is the only one that goes on this head. But we'll just count them off as a Marvel head. They both come with the backpack missile piece. Alternate faces. FansToys comes with 4 alternate faces. X-Transbots comes with 3 plus this slightly different head with a different face. So I'll just count that. The FansToys comes with a jetpack. I'll count that against the Starscream cosplay pieces here. I think. I don't even remember, honestly. What do I have an extra face? Okay, we've got the piece for the sled, whereas the X-Transbots comes with the entire sled. I feel like it's cheating to count this against this. Now, the sled is part of the figure, so it's not really an extra accessory. I'm going to just call this a gimmick. You know, it's not really an accessory on its own. You really have to take the figure apart. So here's what you're left with. You get the skis with the water effect, the extra blast effect, another comic head, another, I forgot what style head this is, but it's a different design than the stock head, a chemistry set, and this tool, whatever it is. So X-Transbots is going to win handily on accessories. All right, next we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two. Like I just mentioned, they can both do the sled thing, put all the weapons on there for storage. But the FansToys goes a step extra. Because the sled is part of the figure, it does come apart. You end up with the G1 toy look with the chest and the arms. I don't care for it, but it does have that capability. And neither of them really have weapon storage in vehicle mode. Both of them, you can't really put the weapons anywhere like you can for the Takara. So I'm going to give gimmicks over to FansToys. All right, next we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy and the sculpt. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 image there so you can take a look for yourself. And when it comes to the cartoon look, both of them hit some cues. I would say this gray part here is sort of missing from the X-Transbots. But the shape of the chest, the rectangle versus the square, I do think X-Transbots has that shape down a little bit better. As far as the arms, they're both pretty similar. FansToys went with paint versus actual sculpted lines. But they're very similar in terms of that. Same thing for the thighs, same for the lower legs. There was a little bit more breakup on the FansToys down here. But in general, the arms and legs are very similar, as well as the crotch. But the chest, you know, the FansToys does have more squared off, and they do have this. But then the X-Transbots got this shape, but then down here, they've got this ugly holes, and it just doesn't look right. So I don't think either of them got the chest. And the chest is really the defining feature for this character. Both of them just are not quite right. When it comes to the side, about the same. They both look similar. Comes to the back, I do think the X-Transbots backpack is a little bit cleaner. Still got some parts and kibble, but in general, the FansToys is a little bit more messy because it does the sled thing. But yeah, I think I'm going to give the cartoon accuracy over to X-Transbots, but I'm going to give the sculpt over to FansToys. It's really close. It's really hard to decide, but because they got the shape of the chest down, but then they've got this uncleanly look here with the holes, and there's more than just that. You know, there's kind of holes everywhere. The FansToys really only has those holes on the back. So yeah, I'll give X-Transbots the cartoon accuracy and FansToys the sculpt. Next, we'll talk about the paint on these two. And this one is tough because the X-Transbots does have paint. It's got some that's paint infused, some that's actually paint on top. The white down here on the thighs and the legs is paint, whereas the arms, I believe, is paint infused. But either way, it's pretty much fully painted throughout, both the red and the white. The FansToys is also 100% painted, other than the hands on both. They're both pretty much fully painted. So no lack of paint, but they both have paint scraping issues. During transformation, both of them have paint flaking, paint chipping. I don't know if it's just because they didn't account for tolerances. And I think you've probably seen me adjusting this X-Transbots the whole time. And that's because it's constantly, just doesn't stay in the position. We'll talk about that when we get to build. But as far as the paint, I'm going to give them a tie. They both are painted and both have similar quality, which is to say not the best as far as chipping. Next, we'll talk about the build quality on these two. And this one for me is pretty much a no-brainer. I got to give it to FansToys. This thing is solid in robot mode, solid in vehicle mode. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. The transformation is not fun. We'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as the feel, the materials, the build, I do think this is much better built. The X-Transbots, this is a big issue, is this whole thing is relying on one tiny little hinge. And when you transform it, you've got to rotate on that hinge 3 times in order to get it transformed correctly. And I really don't think that's going to last. But also, this just feels awful. The fact that it doesn't really lock in, feels kind of loose. A lot of the plastic down here especially I worry about over time. So I'll give build quality over to FansToys. That's kind of a no-brainer. Next, let's talk about articulation. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually so you can see how they look. For the X-Transbot, the head is on a ball joint, so you get up to there, down to there, side to side, and rotates around. The shoulders on a hinge ratchet that go all the way up to there. Rotates around on a friction joint. It's a little bit weird where it's located, but it works. Rotation at the bicep. You have a double jointed elbow. It's a very weirdly done. It does work. It's just strange, but it does work. You have a rotation at the wrist. In and out movement at the wrist. You have the bottom 3 fingers connected, and the top one is individually articulated. Thumb is on a swivel and 2 pins. I've never liked the way they do these thumbs, but the fingers are fine. They work okay. Coming down to the waist, you have a waist rotation here. It's a very strange rotation. Just the way it rotates, it's kind of forward. So it ends up looking awkward in the rotated position. And then you have this ab crunch, which is very poorly done. It just doesn't hold. Has no tension at all. So it does have a crunch. It just doesn't work great. For the legs, you have hip skirt on the front. I do think that looks a little weird. Leg will kick up to there. No hip skirt on the back, so leg goes back to there. Up to the side on a friction. It's not very good. rotation at the thigh on universal. You have, let's see, get that out of the way. You do have a double jointed knee. And there is a cover down piece here that you can open up to get that extra articulation. So I'll give that to them. Ankle tilts out to there. These ankles are constantly not sitting flat. It's just something weird about the way it sits. So, but it does have a tilt and a forward and backward rotation. I think this is one of the issues, is that screw gets loose over time. So you do have to tighten that if he's falling backward or forward. For the FansToys, head has a rotating swivel, goes up to there, down to there, rotates around. There's no side to side on the head, like the X-Transbots. Shoulder rotates around, out to the side, up to here. Rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow. Although the end result is about the same as X-Transbots, it does have a single jointed elbow versus the double there. Rotation at the wrist. You don't have the in and out movement at the wrist. You do have individually articulated fingers at 2 pins, and the thumb is on a ball joint and a pin. So similar hands overall. You have a rotation at the waist on a ratchet. Ab crunch. Nice tolerance on that. It can hold. For the legs, you have hip skirts on the front, back, and sides. The legs will kick up to there on a ratchet. Back to there on a ratchet. Out to the side on friction. It does hold. Tension is nice there. Rotation at the thigh on universal. You have a double jointed knee, gets you the full bend, so the same as this guy. Ankle tilts out to there and forward and backward. So due to the extra articulation at the elbow, just barely, it's a double jointed elbow, but more so due to the side to side movement on the head for the ball joint. Just by a hair, I'm going to give it over to X-Transbots. They've got just a bit more articulation. Now, does it work well? In my opinion, no. But they do have more articulation points. Next, we'll talk about the transformation and engineering on these two. Comes to transformation, this category is going to be pretty close because both of them kind of suck to transform. Both have paint chipping when you transform them. Both have lots of panels that have to be put into place. But only the X-Transbots has that single joint that really, everything is relying on that. And it doesn't feel good. I'm not really sure if this is going to last transformation. This one, at least, I believe, will last transformations. It feels very robust and sturdy. It's just the paint chipping thing, right? You may end up with paint chips. So while they both have the paint chipping issue, I think FansToys has a little edge over this in terms of the transformation, just because I don't think that it has that one joint where, everything's relying on it. So I'll give transformation over to FansToys by a hair. Comes to engineering, both of them kind of suck. I don't really love the design of the transformation. I know FansToys are trying to work in that gimmick for the G1 toy mode where they've got the sled coming out. I don't think it was worth it, to be honest. I think it actually overcomplicated this section up here unnecessarily. FansToys isn't really, or the X-Transbots isn't really much better. They got a lot going on in the upper body. So I'm going to give engineering a tie. Neither of them really did a great job there. All right, next we'll take a look at the alt modes, and I'm definitely not transforming these two guys into alt modes. So we'll put up an image from my prior review so you can take a look. And I think both of them have a lot of panel lining, right? There's a lot of interruption with the sculpt. Overall, though, I do think the FansToys looks better, especially from the front. It's missing those little gaps on the front of the vehicle mode, right at the bottom of the chest. I'm not really sure why they needed to have that there. I think it's kind of they could have come up with a different design there. Next, we'll take a look at the cost on these two. As always, I use the prices on ages 3 and up since they don't mess with it after. The X-Transbots Ratliff comes in at $179 US retail. This is about a year ago, so inflation brings that up a couple bucks. But the FansToys just came out recently. comes out to $213. So X-Transbots is going to be in cost even with inflation calculated in. And the final factor in this comparison is the members' choice category. I ask my members which one they prefer just based on their own personal preferences and no other factors such as cost or build. And Fantastic Model or FansToys is going to take this one. No surprise there. I do think overall it looks better. But not to say, I mean, I think that especially the chest area on the X-Transbots still looks pretty good. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score there, and FansToys is going to win this one, but it's pretty close. You know, I was actually surprised. I really don't like this figure, but they do have some things that they did well. If you're a fan of getting accessories, this has the most accessories of any figure I think we've ever gotten. Plenty of things to mess with. It does have a pretty good looking, toon look to it. Articulation is pretty well done. But for me, the build quality and the overall feel of it is just what tops it for me personally. And I just can't stand the way this feels. And that's why, this is going to be my bot mode for my collection. And then I have the Takara for the alt mode. But I know there's people out there who really enjoy this figure. So hopefully this helped you decide what direction to go. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Ricky G for sending this for a review. And we'll see you next time.
TM Reviews. What's up, YouTube fans?